And welcome back to bonding time.
What's up, people?
I'm just Jonathan Chu.
I'm Chris.
You're just Chris?
Yeah.
I'm Hutchinson. David
There we go.
Hutchinson.
True to form. And it's Patrick. Ramon Patrick.
Yeah, I feel like slowly but surely you guys are just like gonna fall off and you're like, this is not a thing that we can do.
Damn you, John.
It's true. 3 down to 2.
It is what it is. Anyhow, so we are back for the 4th installment, the follow-up movie to Goldfinger, Thunderball. What do you guys think of this one, Dave?
I honestly, this movie was really weird. I remember back before it was my favorite of the Connery movies. But then I watched it on this rewatch and I don't know. I had issues with it, but I was very conflicted with how I felt about it, and I kept just deliberating on it.
Yeah.
And I actually watched it again today. So, yeah, I'm just very conflicted with this movie. So I'll get into it more when we actually discuss some of the categories.
I think it's funny that you wanted to like it so bad that you watch it twice. Like you're.
It wasn't even that I wanted to like it. It was just that I was so. I don't know. I couldn't understand why looking back on it. It's like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that part. But then when I was watching it the first time, I was like, overall, it was. I had it rated as the lowest of the ones we watched so far. But every time I thought back on it, I was like, oh, but I loved that. I loved that. And then I was like, why do I love all these things, but I didn't enjoy the movie? I'm so confused. This doesn't make sense. So I kind of was just like, I just felt to rewatch it. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. This is just a weird movie experience for me this 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna echo Dave's sentiment because was watching it. I remember that I really liked that, like the movie then. But on this one, first off, let me apologize for what I said last Bonding Time, where I said Bond was a B movie. Bond is not a B movie. It's a B movie script though.
Goldmember was a B movie script.
Not a B movie script, but like one of those like detective novels you just read. So like a B book,
Yeah.
And then it's then it moved over to a title. But I found this title. It was trying to do what an A-class title does. It was just not in the way that Bond should do it, in my opinion. So I was not a fan of this one. Like this one, I thought it trailed. It trailed. It was a detective movie, but it trailed far more than the others.
Yeah.
No, I like this one. This is definitely one of the stronger entries. Again, we're going back to Spectre this time around. I like that. Goldfinger was a nice break, different villain. But I like the story in this one. The story actually seemed, I don't want to say plausible, but I don't know. I liked it. Stealing bombs.
Yeah.
And ransoming them off. What'd you say?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Goldfinger plot.
Yeah.
I still think Goldfinger's idea was pretty good, but anywho.
Yeah.
But what I love about this plot is this is probably the most classic plot. Because think of all the parodies of spy movies, Austin Powers. They're going to hold the world ransom for $1 million. And that is stripped straight from this. And there was so much that I loved about this movie, but the movie definitely has some issues that drag it down for sure.
Yeah, I'd say one thing for me that drug it down a little bit was maybe like the action in the end, the underwater scene.
Yeah.
A little bit hard to kind of tell what was going on at certain points, and it looked like going over the same scenes over and over.
I'm saying good attempts.
I completely disagree with that. I think the last scene is amazing. The fight scene underwater in Miami, that is, in my opinion, the highlight of the movie. I loved that. I think that they do too much underwater scenes, and it drags the movie, and it the pacing of the movie is one of the worst things about it.
Mm.
But I think the final scene underwater is like top class. Like this movie won an Academy Award for visual effects, which is mainly due to the underwater scenes, and it's the only Bond movie to win an Oscar for not a song and the score.
So you told us what you think of the last scene, but what do you think of the opening scenes? The opening sequence.
You know, I know you raised the thing about last week, John, about it being very disconnected from the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot in these movies, and I liked it in Goldfinger, but I don't know, I didn't particularly like it in Thunderball. Although this did have more connection to the movie, because when they go into Spectre, number one mentions that one of their agents has been killed. Mm-hmm. So it is still connected to the movie, which the one in Goldfinger wasn't. I just wasn't a huge fan. I think it's cool they use the jetpack. Yeah. Because the jetpack was a thing in the 60s, and that was a real thing. But if you were looking back on it now, most people probably think that is fake as hell. But well, it was a real thing.
It looked ridiculous. So, yeah. What do you think, Ramon?
That it did, but once again, Bond's pushing the envelope, so he tried something new. In hindsight, it looks ridiculous, but at the time, I'm sure it was interesting. Actual opening theme, though, I love it. This is them definitely taking the foray, like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. Not, so let's see. The first couple were like, this is first year, second year university, or like just getting there. No, you've graduated, you've got something going now.
You're talking about the visuals or the song itself?
The visuals and the song combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Opening song, I actually liked it. It was a really strong follow-up again to like Goldfinger. The song is really good. The guy's voice is just strong. It's really authoritative. Like, the song is like really authoritative. It gets me ready for who I'm about to see in this movie.
Yeah.
I like the visuals. The women swimming in the background. It's very simple, obviously, compared to like what we're gonna see when we get to like Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan. But I thought it, I thought it worked. They still try to like keep a theme. Pick like maybe one theme from the movie and show it in the opening graphics, and they continued that trend here in Thunderball, and I liked it. The opening scene, I liked it a lot. Entertained the hell out of me because I like action, and the fight between Bond and this guy was great. It was a little cheesy and like a little bit stiff at times, but it's 60 something or 70 something, so and so I don't mind like the opening scenes not being connected to maybe the main story, but as David said, I like the fact that it was still Spectre. So I thoroughly enjoyed this opening scene, and the jetpack was awesome. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, I actually, funny enough, really enjoyed it because, first of all, what is it with Bond and them with funerals? Like, they love a funeral in the beginning. They just love.
Or like coffins or something.
Yeah. They started with the funeral, and when they started with the funeral, I was a little bit like, okay, this is gonna be dumb. But then they got to the fight scene, and I think that was the only like super campy thing that they did, where the widow is the guy that he's trying to get. Like, that was so stupid.
It's like it's like an actual woman in like one scene. In the next scene, it's like
it is a dude. I couldn't stop laughing, and the fight was entertaining. It wasn't like the best fight scene in the world, but it was entertaining enough. I really liked the beginning, and then the actual opening credits. At first I was like, oh, so we're going with like the water theme, right? And I forgot that this movie was so water based. So that made sense to me as well. And I did like the song. It's not the best song, but I did like the song, and it was a little bit different from, the other stuff. So I really liked it. I mean, I thought it was a good way to introduce it, especially since they weren't heavy-handed with Spectre in this movie. So that was their way of like introducing him. I thought so, because so Spectre was he was fighting a villain from Spectre, but Spectre wasn't like the overarching bad guy, you know? Or
Three operatives died and were killed. Were involved with this.
that's true. No, that's true, right? But to me, it was more Largo than anybody else. It was like, yes, he was number two, but like, it feels like another incremental. Like Spectre is going to be. It's going to be. He's bringing down Spectre soon, but it wasn't there yet. And I saw Largo as the bad guy more than overarching Spectre. I know that it was within the Spectre organization, but like for me, it was all about Largo. So yeah, I thought it was great. Where do you guys rank it in terms of openings?
I put Goldfinger first, and I put it behind Goldfinger and before From Russia with Love.
Okay.
Because I really like the song in Thunderball, and I like the graphics.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
I actually have it. Goldfinger is my number one, From Russia with Love, then Thunderball. So Thunderball is the least of the three.
What about Dr. No?
I don't consider Dr. No. I can't compare Dr. No. That's simply because
that's very rude.
It's because it doesn't follow the same formula. Every other Bond movie has a pre-credit scene, then it goes into the title sequence. Dr. No doesn't have that. So it's really hard to compare Dr. No with the others. It's like comparing apples with oranges, I think.
About the credits, at least.
Yeah, but again, even the credits. I like the credits in Dr. No, but it's very simplistic. It's almost like a completely different kind of style. But every other Bond movie follows the style from Russia with Love. So it's hard for me to compare Dr. No with the others.
That's where I disagree, because I think that it's the basis of where all of those came from. They realized that they can do it better, and they did it better. So it's the others are the evolution of it, but that's the basis of it. And I actually have it ranked pretty high. Dr. No was my favorite. So Thunderball is at the top now, and Dr. No is underneath. What about you, Ramon?
It's funny because I've got a similar ranking as John, but my number one is definitely Thunderball for this one. I thought it was really good. Then From Russia with Love.
Mm-hmm.
Then Goldfinger. Actually, no. Then Dr. No. Then Goldfinger.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense for you. Yeah, but I think I like this opening a lot. I think that actually shows in all of our rankings how we really feel about it, because I like this more than any of the others. Made sense. This was, when I think about it, the opening scene was actually like the only funny part of the movie, like prolonged funny part of the movie. That was where they got all the campiness out. That's where they got the jokes out, and then they moved into the movie proper.
I can't wait to talk about the one-liners then, because I thought this movie was full of campiness, and I loved it.
Really?
I thought so.
Start with your one-liner. What was the best one-liner in the movie?
There's too many. There's just too many. I can't even remember them all.
Many. There were.
I think I heard one or two.
Are you kidding me? Seriously? That's so many.
None of them were over the top the way the other movies were. But yeah, Dave, so what was your number one then?
Well, let me hear y'all's first, because if y'all didn't hear many one-liners, I will then fill in the gaps of some other ones that I heard.
Chris, hit it. What was your favorite?
Yeah, this one, shoot, I'm trying to remember, but the one that comes to mind is where Bond shoots the guy with the harpoon.
Oh, yes.
And then he's like...
Yeah, I think he got the point.
I think he got the point.
I feel like if that was the classic for all of us, like that's
exactly.
the one line, like, oh my God.
I can remember it. I can't really remember the rest.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
there were one-liners, but there weren't one, incredibly funny, and two, they weren't like over the top. They weren't like, say the line, look at the camera, yeah, you know what's up. They were kind of like, he said the one-liner, and if you weren't looking too hard, you'd miss it. Because I saw a couple, but I didn't think, very few of them made me laugh out loud. What about you, Ramon? What was your number one?
Oh, it's definitely he got the point, and
Yeah.
I can't remember hearing many others. I remember there was one more, but like,
Yeah. Well, that's 2 points for he's got the point. Mine was when he killed Fiona. And
But yeah.
well, when Fiona died, and he
Yeah.
said, mind if my friend says this one out? She's just
she's
dead.
dead or
And
she's
then he
dead.
put her down. And I'm just like, that was the only point throughout the entire movie where I laughed out loud. Well, probably other than the beginning when when the guy obviously when they switched the woman to a man, and then all of a sudden is the dude in drag. I like that. Those are the only 2 points in the movie where I actually laughed out loud. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about that because he was so nonchalant about it, dude. She's a dead woman. Like you literally just laid a dead person next to these people.
That's fair.
Ridiculous. And he was just so like, I don't know, charismatic about it. That was messed up. Anyhow, yeah.
She's
So,
just dead. I love that. Yeah.
That was a good.
It reminded me of in Doctor No when he tells the guy when he drives the dead body and he's like, "Captain, don't let him get away." And he walks
Yeah.
inside.
you know, I just realized because of Dave did it just now. The reason why I laughed so hard is because of the way that he smiled at them. He smiled at them. His Bond lines land when he knows that he's taking a piss. When he is in on the joke and he is like chucking it up, that's when these lines work. So, Dave, fill us in. What was yours?
So like the reason why I appreciated the one-liners in this movie, I thought this movie had more puns than any of the previous three. It was like they were so embedded in the script and the dialogue. Like when okay, I actually had to look some up. So
Because you
all right, when he meets Largo in the casino and he says, yes, I thought I saw a specter over your shoulder, specter.
That was
Spectre, and then he's like, what did you mean, the specter of defeat? And it's just like it's wordplay like that. Or well, I mean those two were the two biggest ones. I think those are the two I wrote down. But
I admit he does do a lot of wordplay around that spider because he did it with Largo and he did it with Fiona as well. But I would say that's more script than one-liner to me.
That's what I would say, right? I think that the dialogue was actually really good in this movie.
I just thought it was very punny. Like even when the guy was saying, "Do you know a lot about guns?" No, but I know a lot about women. Or when Fiona made what sharp little eyes you have, and he's like, "Wait till you get to my teeth."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing, though, right? I don't think that those were puns. They were just witty. And that's what I like. There were witty remarks that he had, better dialogue, but there were very few like straight up one-liners in this movie to me, and I kind of appreciated that they didn't do it because, like you guys said, right? Like Ramon said, this format was a little bit different. To me, this was more of like a spy movie. This wasn't a jokey spy movie. This wasn't a there wasn't a lot of camp in it. This was a like serious movie, which is funny because, like I said in the beginning, they didn't really set it up that way. Between the man cross-dressing and the jetpack, like the fight scene, they did not set this movie up that way. But that's what it turned into.
I think that's the director, honestly.
And you know, maybe he was just like, okay, James Bond fans are expecting these things, so give it to them and get it out of the way, and then we can get to the movie that I want to show you. But that's kind of how it felt to me.
Oh,
One it wasn't really a line. Yeah, it wasn't a one-liner, but when was it Fiona was in the bathtub and like Bond walks in on her and she's like, hand me something to put on, and he hands her.
Oh, you mean the slippers?
Yeah.
That's like next level funniness. He doesn't even speak. He just that's a method acting one line. That's awesome.
That's the thing, right? But when you say one-liners, to me, it's like a straight-up one-liner. There are a lot of funny moments in this movie that aren't, well, they're witty, they're smart, you know, and I like that. I like that a lot. I think that that part of it was good. But so what do you guys think of the Bond girl? Who is the Bond girl?
Wait. Before we go there, I just wanted to say one more thing. the point, like to me, the point of a one-liner, especially, is the way it's delivered, and it's delivered to be impactful.
Yeah.
That could have been more like the one with the slippers. That could have been more impactful, but at the time, like he didn't mean it to be funny. Like he knew, all right, she's part of Spectre. This is being treated with hostility, so it wasn't supposed to be funny.
Yeah. But it was still cheeky though. It was still cheeky.
I don't know. I like her face killed me.
Yeah, I know.
Her face absolutely floored me. And the funny thing is that was improv, which is what I love. Apparently that was not in the script.
Oh, nice.
Which is what makes it hit. It's like that is awesome.
Well, there you go.
She's like really cool. But
Yeah,
So
Chris.
as Ron said, straight into the Bond girl next.
Yeah, Chris, who do you think is the Bond? Who is the Bond girl?
yeah, I'm trying to like remember now. I think it was Domino. Was probably
Yeah,
yeah,
for
she was the main Bond girl. I don't know. I just thought it was so weird how her and Bond meet. Like Bond, if I remember Domino correctly, like he meets her underwater the first time because she gets her foot caught in like some reef or some shit.
Yeah, but he was full out stalking her, man. Because
sure.
he was trying to make contact with her.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, how convenient. Like, oh,
But that wasn't really convenient. This plot, one of my problems with this plot is it's full of this Bond was stalking her. And yeah, I mean, it was convenient she got her foot stabbed, I guess.
Well, I mean, he
But
was
going to meet up with her anyway.
but I feel like this was like the first time he had started stalking her, and then I don't know, it just seems so like, I mean,
Artificial, weird.
so unnatural. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how convenient. She gets her foot stuck. Now he has a way to talk to her now. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just seems,
I don't know if I agree with that because you don't know how long he was stalking her for. Because it just goes straight and then you're in the Bahamas, but he could have been in the Bahamas for like a day or two already.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have context. He didn't be like,
Yeah.
I've been stalking this girl forever. I don't have it in. But like, I mean, we have to take it for what it is,
Yeah. But I do see your point, Chris, because one of my issues with this movie is it is full. As good as the dialogue is, I find the plot itself, despite being a good classic plot, the details are very, very muddied.
yeah. So yeah, Domino. I think it was definitely the main Bond girl. I liked her, but I really like Fiona more.
Yeah.
I can actually remember Fiona a lot more than I remember Domino. And Fiona was like, just take no prisoners. I feel like, and I think I talked to Dave, or maybe Dave said this, that he felt that Fiona was really the Bond girl that maybe Pussy Galore should have been, or could have been.
Yes.
Said that,
Yeah.
Dave?
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, because she basically even mentioned that. She's like, told Bono, you're going to sleep with a woman, and then she turns to the side of righteous and virtue.
Yeah.
Not this time, buddy. And he's like, oh, shit, well, can't win them all.
So I actually feel like if these two Bond women, well, I think there were 4 women throughout. There was kind of like a sidekick girl who, again, never be Bond's sidekick because you're just going to die.
Yeah, Paula.
What?
Paula, that was her name. Paula.
Yeah, Paula, and then there was the, I guess she was a nurse at the spa. The two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
She was super cute, man. I liked her.
yeah, she was cool.
Agreed, but
Actually, so my thing about it is that those 2 girls were cool, but they weren't, again, they were just like the typical woman in a Bond movie. These the 2 real Bond women, Domino and Fiona, they felt like the evolution of the last 2 Bond girls, because one of them was a girl who had been screwed over by the bad guy and she was taking revenge, and the other one was a bad girl, and instead of her turning, she just stayed bad. She was a bad character. I actually liked her as to me, she was red in this movie. She was the red for this movie, and I liked her. She was cool. But they definitely feel like evolutions. They were scripted off of the last movie, it's because the last movie turned out a certain way and then they like changed it up a little bit. And even her saying it, like you said, was exactly that for me. Domino was definitely the Bond girl, and I liked her. She wasn't like completely useless. I hate the fact that for me, it's always like, how useful are you? And she wasn't completely useless, but I don't know. She just didn't seem like a fully realized character either.
I really liked Domino. I agree with you. I think Domino and Fiona are kind of evolutions from two previous Bond girls. I would say that Domino is like a more developed Honey Rider because she gets a lot more screen time.
Yeah.
And you even meet her coming out of the ocean.
Yeah.
And then that Fiona is obviously evolution of Pussy Galore. And I love when Fiona and Bond were on screen together.
Yeah.
Like when she picked him up in the car, and I loved Fiona.
I never had the upper hand, until that very end.
Yeah.
They definitely had chemistry though, because even when after they slept and it was obvious that she was like, she just used him. I like the fact that she used him for sex, and he was like, "Oh no, that was on Her Majesty's." Like, "Oh, I only did that for my state. I didn't actually want to sleep with you." And I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah, but it's like she was like matching Bond, like because he had to tell her like she was biting him on his shoulder, and it's like, you belong in a cage.
So that was the reason why I actually kind of believed him, because he didn't seem like particularly into it, especially in like the after scene. It was kind of like, dude, just leave me alone. Just like, just get off of me. You suck. What do you think, Ron?
I'm gonna agree with all of your points so far. Actually, definitely evolutions of the last two characters. Domino, based on the amount of screen time she gets, she is the Bond girl, but I think Fiona she has it for me. She has it for me.
So the thing about Domino is that she is, there's no doubt in my mind that she's a Bond girl, right? But if she's the evolution or reaction to the other Bond girls, she's not. These are all things, one, that she's a pretty basic character, She's a chick who got mixed up with a bad guy. She meets Bond. She helps Bond. And that's about it for her. There's nothing particularly interesting about her. Even like, the one thing that I will give her is that she killed the bad guy. Bond didn't do it. She's the one who like stepped up and killed him, right? But even that was kind of like, okay, cool, and then you just moved on. It wasn't like
Sorry, I'll just add, unlike Tatiana and Honey Rider, she did kind of push off Bond's advances. Like,
she did?
It was kind of half-hearted, but she would like, Bond was like, dinner, and she's like, no. But Bond is just was persistent, and I mean, Bond is charming, so he doesn't like falter, and he kind of wore her down. But she is not as if, like with some other Bond girls, she didn't just fall into his arms. She was actually pushing back on him.
So that's actually a thing that I've noticed with all of these movies, and well, I noticed it specifically for this movie, is that every woman starts with, ew, you're gross. Like, it's always no, and then it turns into yes. Every single one of them. And that is just so, because sometimes he does it and he's suave, but for Sean Connery, to be honest, a lot of the time that he does it, it's forceful. It's really forceful, and it's over the top, and it's uncomfortable even, because it's always, oh, blah, 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 kiss, and they're like, "Rrr," and then, oh, like, it's every single time it's something like that. Even with the spa attendant in this, like, he basically
that was cringe. That was cringeworthy.
He basically blackmailed her into having sex with him, and I mean, again, she's on board with it and whatnot. Well, for whatever, but
they played it off that way.
But if you look at all of these, every interaction, it's like that, and that's really, I get it. If they are flirting with you and they're like, yeah, you're cute, we could have a good time, cool, but it's never that. It's always, oh no, I don't want you, and then he like forces himself on them every single time. It's really, actually, it's very uncomfortable. It's very weird to watch.
I mean, sign of the times. I just chalk it up to period piece, and
Period.
We're past that.
Yeah.
Since we covered all of those topics, where do you guys rank this movie 1 to 10?
Where
I'm struggling with this one.
for me, Thunderball. It was a strong entry, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I watched it when I was like late at night and I was tired as hell. But I definitely struggled to get through Thunderball, and I don't know why.
Who didn't watch this movie when they were tired?
Low pacing.
Huh?
Who didn't watch this movie when they were tired? Because I was tired as hell, and honestly, I didn't think that I'm surprised that I stayed up for this entire movie. I felt as if I was gonna fall asleep a couple of times.
The first time I watched it, I was tired. Yeah, but this the second time, not so much.
I think that all of us need to go back and watch it when we're not tired, because I was trying to figure out if it was me that was not bored, but like was finding it difficult to get through it, or if it's the actual movie that's just difficult to get through.
Right.
I actually found myself wondering that while I was watching it too. So at that point, I'm like, maybe if two of us have said it, or if all of us are saying it.
Four of us, it seems like, yeah.
The problem this movie had a problem with pacing. It's the longest of the movies so far.
Yeah.
But I know it was set underwater, but it kind of feels like it was dragged down from that. Like it was slow because of that, if you get what I mean. Yeah. I loved the underwater scenes. I think, and this was another thing with the visuals, is this was the first Bond shot in widescreen as well.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell just the quality of the cinematography is excellent compared to the first three. And so I loved that, but there was too many underwater scenes. Like there's a whole point where after Fiona dies, they could have just cut that out and almost, okay, let's just get to the end.
So I felt like, I feel like if I treat the Bond movies like movie projects or like people in art school, which is kind of mean because these are $1 million movies, but I felt like if underwater photography was possible and they're like, oh my god, we got these cameras, let's use them, and then they use them in every single way that they can think of, and they were just like so excited about having the ability to do this thing that they just overdid it 100%. The first half of the movie I was very on board, but the minute that they covered over that ship, the minute that they covered over the plane, it just started to drag and drag and drag.
Yeah.
There were peaks that were interesting, but like after the first part and they got to that point, it was just dragging a lot. I like the underwater stuff that they did, right? But you could have done, so they did, I feel like if they were trying to go for like a massive battle underwater, and what they forget is that when you are underneath, when you're in water, there's resistance. So your punches don't land the same way. It doesn't look the same way. And they did that thing when they were to shoot someone with a spear gun and they're like, oh, you'll hold it. And they're like, oh, I've been shot by a spear gun. And it just felt so.
See, but I felt that worked better because it was underwater. So the exaggerated movements that have been in all of the Bond movies thus far, it's underwater. So I actually bought it. Like it was just, I agree there was too much underwater scenes, but that final battle scene for me was epic.
It was
cool.
It
worked so good for me.
It was cool, but I feel like if it were 5 minutes, it could have been 2 minutes. It could have been 2.5 minutes. It could have been cut down by half.
Yeah, but I mean, in 20 years, you could look back at Avengers Endgame and say the same thing about that battle.
So, but there's the thing, right? This battle was.
I guess I was seeing the same scenes over and over in this battle.
That's exactly it. It's the same scenes. The thing about the underwater thing, if that underwater battle were 5 minutes and we hadn't spent so much time underwater before, it would have been fine. Okay. But it was like every 2 minutes they were scuba diving. Every 2 minutes was, hey, let's go underwater. They had to go so when they dropped the ship, when they dropped the plane underwater, I was like, oh, this is cool, and then they covered up. I was like, oh, you smart, you hiding it? Like, those were all cool things. But then every 2 minutes, he's looking for the ship. They're going back underneath. At certain points, I was like, why are we underwater again?
With the sharks, like 3 times.
Yeah, the thing with the sharks. And that little thing, it felt like if he was underwater for way longer than 4 minutes. So I was like, you're dead, dude. Like, there's no way that you're still, that thing is still, like, giving you life.
You know what's really funny is that apparently someone in the National Guard called someone that worked on the movie and was like, so how long does the breath thing work? I can't remember what it's called. How long does that work? And the guy responded, well, as long as you can hold your breath. And the guy responded like, no, because Bond was underwater for like 4 or 5 minutes, 6 minutes, like what you said, John. And it's like, yeah, that's the beauty of editing. You don't see the cuts. It's like, that was hilarious. And I mean, that was really impressive for the time that it had people fooled.
Even that though, right? Think about it. He met Domino underwater, and they didn't have any scuba gear on, and it felt like if we were underwater with them for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, see, I loved the final scene, but I do think there was too much underwater scenes.
Yeah, there was way too much underwater scene.
Yeah.
There was one more thing. Well, Ramon, what do you rank this as?
I'm gonna just put in my opinion of this. You know what it missed? It missed a lot of camp in this one.
Oh, so you wanted the cap. Oh,
yeah. To me, this was a detective / spy movie. It wasn't a Bond. It wasn't really
like. You know what this felt like? Actually, this felt like a Mission Impossible movie. If this were a Mission Impossible plotline, I totally would have bought it, because you have the team, and he actually had a team this time. He never has a team. He actually had a team, and the bad guy. This felt like a Mission Impossible movie to me, because Mission Impossible isn't like particularly campy. They don't make fun of stuff, and they had like the crazy gadgets. This felt like a Mission Impossible movie to me.
And it's, once again, the pacing would have worked out if they were in some more camp, some funny Bond one-liners in there just to keep us,
going.
But Dave? What did I rate Goldfinger?
You rated Goldfinger. Let me see.
I feel like you
rated Goldfinger a 9. You rated From Russia with Love an 8, and Dr. No an 8.
This is maybe a 6 for me.
Whoa! Wow.
I may change it later, but to me, I watched this and was like,
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because I know you like the campy movies better, and Goldfinger is definitely the campiest of these 4, which is why you have it rated the highest. So I can totally understand. Thunderball is more in line with the kind of theme of the first 2. Yeah, it's more serious. It's Terrence Young kind of has that grounded.
Yeah.
But once again, it can be serious while still being a James Bond. Once again,
But see,
there was a lot of puns. I will admit
there were puns, but they weren't like funny puns. There were puns that you're kind of like, okay, that was witty, then move on with your life. But what do you give it, Dave?
So for me, the things I liked, I've already kind of spoken about for the most part. A couple of things, because I wrote this down when I was watching it this time. The location was so much better than Goldfinger. I said this last week. I hated Goldfinger's location. It was the most boring thing ever. They went back to Miami this time, and it was so much better, although they weren't technically in Miami. They were off the coast.
Well,
but
they're in Bahamas, so.
Yeah. The Bahamas was such a good location.
Yeah, it was.
I loved being there. So that plus. The things I didn't particularly like were the pacing. It was super slow. The plot conveniences, Chris mentioned that earlier. I thought the fact that Bond was at a spa that just happened to be right next to a NATO air base where a nuclear bomb was being stolen and Spectre was there. the too much plot conveniences for me in that, and he just happened to see the guy and then was like, "Oh, send me to Bahamas because of this picture." Is like, no. But the other thing I really liked were the sets, like the set where you see Spectre and the chairs that execute them.
Yeah.
Loved that. The set where they have all of the 00 agents and they're briefing them on Operation Thunderball. That set was amazing. Just the polish of this movie was really, really good. And initially, when I first watched it, like a couple weeks ago, I watched it like right after Goldfinger. I think I watched it the same day. And so I think I was tired. I didn't appreciate it a lot. So I had it like a 7. But then I just kept going back to it, like thinking about it. So I watched it again. And I actually I rate it a 8. And I have it above Goldfinger.
Wow.
But below the other two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I second a lot of what David said, and I'll say actually I thought the villain in this was pretty strong. I like the villain in this.
I like the villain too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually like that they gave him an eye patch. I mean, it's like, it's so simple, but
Guy 101. Yeah. Okay.
Huh? What'd you say?
Guy 101.
Yeah, right. I actually like that. Like, it made him.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Didn't Bond like establish Bad Guy 101? Like eye patches weren't the thing back then, per se.
Possibly.
I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe they weren't a thing.
This guy Largo, we didn't talk about him much. He just looked like a bad guy. He just looked like sleazy, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna not like this dude.
Yeah, and actually that scene.
Oh, his henchman looks even sleazier too. Like this was.
God, that guy was so gross. Vargas or something?
Vargas.
Oh yeah.
But also Blofeld. So I don't think the Bond movies do Blofeld good once he's revealed.
Yeah.
I think Blofeld is strongest when he's behind the shadows. So Blofeld in From Russia with Love and Blofeld in this movie is so
Badass.
like that is such it's the mystery around the character, and then like later on in the movies where they have him cross-dressing and just they just kind of break down the character too much.
Let's not skip ahead, Dave. Let's not skip ahead.
Even in Spectre, it wasn't well done. But anyway, skipping ahead. Sorry.
And I really like the scene where him and Bond in the casino, and Bond is like whooping his ass at the table, like 7, and Bond drops down 8, and then like the next round, Lago's like 8, Bond's like 9.
9.
I fucking died, son. Oh my god, Bond like shit on him hard. But so like very strong entry in the series. I like the more serious Bonds. I would rate this an 8. I would rate it an 8. I think I'd still prefer Goldfinger over this one.
This is really unfortunate because this movie, I think, is so much better than the last two.
Okay.
But that being said, I'm only gonna give it an 8, because there were good things here. I think my whole thing is that I wanted to like this movie more than I did like it. So like I wanted to come in guns a-blazing and give it a 9, but I didn't like it that much. I liked it an 8. It was a good movie, but that pacing, man, and just the whole underwater thing. It's like they took an idea and they were just like, so then Bond does this and then he's underwater. It's too much. It's just too much. And the thing about being underwater as well is that you can't have dialogue. You can't speak while you're underwater. You can't really do anything. The fact that the good guys were always in these ridiculous orange things just so you knew that they were good guys, that's kind of ridiculous to me. Like, you're a spy. You're not going to wear a freaking orange jumpsuit.
Well, no, they weren't spies. Those were like the Coast Guard, I think, right?
Yeah, but still, like, okay, but James Bond is a spy, and he was always in that orange crap. Just so we knew.
It's true. It was that night, and he was, right. But although I will say that when Largo realized Bond was like underwater, that was actually pretty funny too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How would you realize that?
But also, no, I think what's funnier is how he got underwater with them. They were all lined up putting on their wetsuits, and Bond just comes behind one of them and is like, whoosh. It was like a freaking cartoon. It
so
was,
ridiculous.
what the hell?
That
What
made
is-
me laugh.
Come on.
But yeah, I mean, this was a fun movie. I really thought that I was gonna be all in with this movie, and it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't perfect, I guess. Maybe our expectations are a little bit too high, but I'll give it a solid 8 though, because I gave the others a 7, and I did like this one more than I liked those ones. But it's funny to me, Dr. No is still my favorite of all of them so far.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
can see it.
So
So-
what's the overall, Dave?
Overall, Thunderball is coming in last at 7.5.
Yeah.
It's the only movie so far that has not. Every other movie has been at 8.25.
Yeah.
Actually, if Ramon had rated this a 7, it would have been 8.25 again.
8.5, okay.
Which is hilarious. Oh, actually, no. Would it have been? Actually, wait, hold on.
No, I think it would have been. That is, I think, so for me, better than the other two. I can't believe that you guys would rated the other two so high. But, I mean, I get it. It wasn't just the pacing. Like you keep saying, Ramon, this movie is just, it's like if they were,
like a James Bond.
yeah, you know what? It's not that it didn't seem like a James Bond. It's that it kind of, the Daniel Craig James Bonds are not super campy. They're like pretty spy movie. We're taking ourselves seriously. And that's actually, I just realized it. That's what this movie is missing. It is missing a little bit of like whimsy, a little bit of like, okay, we're spies, but like there's no.
No, this is James Bond, the kind of fuck up that does really well, okay. Not fuck up, but like,
Yeah.
the rebel spy.
Yeah. It's because again, like they only did this because James Bond was like, I have a hunch I can solve this, blah blah blah. He kind of even didn't really get assigned to this properly. I know I also just figured out why this movie kind of fell flat for me as well, is because they kind of explained what was going on, but there were certain parts where I'm like, why is this necessary? Why do I need to know all this stuff? One, and two, you tell me all this stuff, but I genuinely don't care. And although they told us so much stuff, I'm kind of like, I forget, and then I'm like, why are we here again? And they were like searching for the ship, they were searching for the plane, and I was like,
yeah, at all points I was like, why, Bond? Why do you need to find the plane?
yeah, and then he found the plane. He found the plane, and it was like, oh yeah, the bombs aren't on there anymore. I was like, duh, why would you think that the bombs would still be on there?
I think he literally deduced and had the information that, all right, Largo's the one that has the bombs. Like, this is, it's established.
It's not, a lot of it just seemed unnecessary. It felt like fuller. Like if they were just filling time to make a long movie. And I was like, dude, you could just made like a really tight, cool movie and it would have been great. So yeah, well, there you go. I can't believe this came in the bottom place. I thought that this would have done much better.
I mean, yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm surprised the other three were so consistent.
Yeah, when I see the others, I may change this rating to 7.
The other three were not that consistent. Dr. No was great. The other two were.
Well, I just mean amongst the four of us, like the fact that it all landed at the same rating.
I think that we all represent something different things to love about the franchise, and that's the reason why they're consistent.
Yeah. I think that's good because it gives a good overall ranking, which is interesting.
Yeah. So what's the next movie, Dave?
You Only Live Twice.
You Only Live Twice.
It's only downhill from here.
Well, see, maybe for us that like the serious ones, Ramon's ratings I think are gonna go up.
There we go. Once again, can't wait until Roger Moore.
I don't even think you have to wait till Roger Moore. I'm pretty sure I remember You Only Live Twice and Diamonds Are Forever being super campy.
Yep.
So I've got one last question, right? Did you guys remember most of this movie?
Nope.
I remember the underwater scene, the underwater fight scene at the end. That was all I remembered from this.
I remember it because I just remember it being my favorite. I remember the underwater scenes as well, but I didn't remember the details. If you had asked me who the Bond girl was, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But
Yeah, I remembered a fair amount of it. I did not remember. I remembered certain things. I did not. The bombs. Honestly, though, the bombs setup, that's so generic. I don't feel like if I would never say that out loud. I would never be like, oh yeah, the plot for that Bond movie was there were bombs and they're holding the world for ransom. You know?
yeah, but it's generic because of this movie. You have to remember that.
True, it's true, but in hindsight, again, this plot was so simple. It was so linear. Steal the bomb. James Bond has to find the bomb, stop the bomb from exploding.
I like that. Like I like that the plot wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's still a little bit believable.
It doesn't need to be.
Where they're going to be going probably in the next couple of movies. Like,
It doesn't need to be crazy. It just needs to be like just. All I wanted was like one twist, one thing that was like,
once again, this is a global operation of this shadow organization in the world.
Yeah.
Who once again they were having their fiscal quarter. Anyone embezzling, fiscal quarter review. Anyone embezzling, is that I expect for your plots to be more than let's steal some bombs and have some like hold city to ransom.
Yeah. It is what it is. Anyhow, signing out. See you guys later.
Nah.
On to the next one.